Thank you for joining me here. I'm here to I'm here to talk about a particular issue which most investors, everybody earns, saves, and then he puts his investments to work, and that is where your journey of investments start. And that is, every investment is a postponed consumption. We do it for it is not a game. Many times people think that it is something we play around with. It's something to do with stock market. It has something to do with something which is less thoughtfully done, and it is accidental. It is not. It is postponed consumption, and you do it with some some serious objective in your mind, that it is for your retirement, it is for your child's education, it is for getting a financial security for yourself or your parents, buying insurance. So how should individuals? Everybody has to learn many things to carry their vocation, but the money issue is something which affects everyone. Whatever you do, you have to worry about how to guard your money, how to spend wisely, and whatever you save, how to invest it properly so that it is able to adequately, because just saving is not good enough. You have to put your savings to work so that it optimizes your return. And how do you go about doing it? And while you go about doing this, there's a big problem. Every time you get little venturesome, you will be encountering a situation. We come across those things all the time. Somebody will give a proposal which will look too attractive for you to ignore, and you will also get a lot of false signal that it's actually a kind of fraud perpetrated by a lot of seasoned people and they actually come pretending to be providing you a financial service. How do you prevent yourself from that? So I'm invited here primarily to tell you how to save yourself, protect yourself from getting into a Ponzi scheme. And Ponzi scheme, as you know, that somebody plays a confidence trick, gets your money and gets the money from a lot of people, and for that he basically honors all the promises made to the initial set of people attracted to it, and after that getting their opinion that okay, it is a working model, more people come into it and then they get sucked into it and they lose their money. So I'm here to list a set of variables, a checklist for you, that how to protect yourself from falling prey to Ponzi schemes. So let me get started with some of the basic points around this, which is when you see something, I think the first red flag that comes to my mind is, most of the time the starting point is, it is a proposition which is too good to be true, and something which is too good to be true is unlikely to be true, and that has proven to be so all the time. Whenever you come across a proposal, a proposition, somebody telling you which looks too good, it is unlikely to be true, because I wish it was possible to do anything magical around it, and we have a financial system which actually makes it impossible. But this is a very difficult thing. How do you go about finding that what is, judging what is too good is hard, because it needs experience. And just because, and as you are getting started, at some stage you will be getting, you'll be meeting this person who is making this proposal, and you don't have the experience to filter it. You don't have the experience to shut him down. On what yardstick on what all dimensions you will evaluate that, okay, this is too good to be true. I'll tell you, there are 3-4 dimensions which you should keep in mind. One is that on 3-4 dimensions on which any investment should be evaluated, and that is, and some of these dimensions are not relevant from your point of view in terms of evaluating whether it's a Ponzi scheme or not. Every investment comes with a combination of 2-3 variables, which is risk, return, and liquidity. And any investment will have a combination of these two. Risk meaning the potential of losing money, or the possibility that how much or how volatile it is in a certain time frame. Return, depending on how risky it is, it can have potentially higher return and potentially significant downside. And as you go, and if the risk gets reduced, there's unlikely to be substantial return. So if you come across a situation, if you come across a proposition that risk is very low and return is very high, this is unlikely to be true, because if risk is very low, return will be in line with a post office deposit, will be like a bank deposit, bank fixed deposit or bank savings account. Nothing, because that is what is provided by the system. Maybe little more, maybe little less, but it cannot be dramatically more or dramatically, it can't be dramatically more. And the moment you get some proposal of something which is substantially more than that, you should be in alert mode and be willing to question and probe further. This means that, because most people, they are naive and gullible, and when you're being made a promise and somebody who is perpetrating a fraud, he will come up with all the variables in terms of to persuade you to understand that this is what is the compelling, what is the worthiness of this, and you will come across, many referrals, people saying that he did it and he got his money back and he also got the return, and there will be people who are close to you, and so you have to apply your own thoughts on this. But I think, the first thing is that the government needs to do something substantial, because most investors may not be geared around it, and government has gone about doing it. Most of the schemes, most investment schemes are supervised, are regulated by SEBI, investment schemes. All banking deposits and savings accounts are regulated by RBI, and all insurance policies are regulated by IRDA, or it is provided by the government of India, which is, National Savings Institute, providing you all the post office savings, vehicles. So if you come across any instrument which is not regulated by any of these four regulators, either it is issued by the government or the three regulators, it is a red flag. You should keep away from anything which is not, because then it is unregulated. There is no oversight. Nobody is keeping an eye on that. They are not complying with anything. So there is a huge possibility, there is a great possibility that somebody will take your money. He's an unregulated entity and will in case he disappears, you will not have any legal recourse. Without experience, how do you judge? And this is very difficult. You will come across a situation that somebody is a jargon-filled proposition, a case being built around something with lot of things being told which you don't understand anyway. And because most people think that it is too sophisticated, it's very difficult. So I would say that the starting point on this point will be how to judge. Start with skepticism. Just say that, your starting point should be that you have to look at everybody as in a questioning mode. You have to think that somebody is coming to deceive you, and you have to ask a set of questions. What is the risk? What is the return? Who is regulating it? Who is the issuer? What is the possibility of losing money? And what is in it for that person who is selling it? If you don't get an answer to any of these, I think you should keep away. And if you are able to get that, without experience, it is very difficult, and these are very difficult questions to ask. But it is your money. Get out of this, don't be shameful while trying to ask this basic question that who are you? Why are you selling it? What do you make? How do I make? And who is regulating it? How much money can I make? How much money can I lose? And asking these questions about your money or the potential gain or the risk is crucial. The third point, which comes to my mind is, which is a big barrier. Everybody who is coming to sell you a product, he is an expert, or he pretends to be an expert, or maybe he's an expert at selling things, not necessarily managing something. So, the odds are against you. The fraudster is more experienced in getting more and more, he gets more, he gains experience over time because that is his business. He's in the business of attracting more people and persuading them to believe that, the product is, or the financial service or the product he's offering is very attractive. It won't fail, and he needs to succeed with very few people. But that is where you have the odds against you. He needs To succeed, he needs to success with few investors, few individuals. But if you are hit by this fraudster, you will lose your principal and you will lose your capital. And you will lose your capital. Not only that, if you lose it if you are hit by this at an early stage, you will not be able to take even the measured risk which is important to take for optimizing your returns on investment in a lifetime, and that will prevent you from maximizing or optimizing return on all the savings that you do over a lifetime. So I would say that they need only a small hit to sustain their fraud. He is more experienced, and none of it is true for you, the victim, if you don't act in best of your interest, or if you don't ask this so-called, not so pleasant question to guard your own interest. So that's the important thing. You have to make sure that this is your money and it is your responsibility to ensure the safeguard and prevention of it from somebody stealing. Ponzi schemes are easy to disguise. Today, so far we have seen that Ponzi schemes, infinite variation is possible. We have seen in terms of in the last 20 years, we have seen Ponzi schemes coming in the form of plantation schemes, teak trees being hawked to investors, that you are not making an investment, you are buying a teak tree, and in 20 years time a teak tree will be planted and it will become worth this much, and more people are collectively mobilized to act on that, and we have seen that it has turned out to be a big fraud. Now SEBI is regulating it. Likewise, we have seen ad clicking, even college admissions or real estate many a times. In fact, in Tamil Nadu or in Karnataka, there was a very unusual thing, emu birds. Somebody created rearing them, and they're worthless birds in terms of financial potential, but somebody created a collective investment scheme around them, rearing them. So it was not a poultry scheme, and I don't know, God knows what else. So you have to guard yourself, and various permutation combination is possible. Somebody will demonstrate that so many people have benefited. Somebody will give you a spreadsheet that how this actually works, and if it is not regulated, you have to keep away. Whether it is regulated by SEBI, whether it is regulated by RBI or IRDA, if not, keep off. Then the next important question which comes to my mind is, savers need to correct the mental model to judge. Understanding the business model, the mental model, we need to teach everybody that what all we tell everybody that how things work. We know so much about sciences, we know so much about geography, we know so much about natural sciences, many things. We don't know much about how finance work. And one thing which is quite commonsensical is you should understand that people are guided by the incentives that they have. If somebody is going to really make money by doing a activity or a set of activities, and if the incentive is huge, then he will actually conduct himself to benefit from that. So you need to really question that what is in it for you, what is in it for whatever the entity which is providing that, and what is in it for the intermediary. If you are able to find a logical answer, a plausible answer to all this, that what is in it for the person who is selling this product, what is in it for you, and what is in it for the company which is creating this product. If you get a clear, credible story, if you find it to be credible, go for it, evaluate it objectively. Once again on the same yardstick, which is risk, return, liquidity, and tax efficiency. If you are unable to evaluate it with clarity, that what is the potential risk, what is the potential return, what is that liquidity, will you be able to get your money back as and when needed, and the tax treatment of the gain that you get from here. There are many legitimate schemes which will work in this direction. Recently, the world's richest man's partner, Mr. Charlie Munger, he was explaining that he finds it very troubling that there are people who come and teach people how to make money from the stock market in a hurry. And he was greatly disappointed by emergence of the low-cost brokerage, virtually zero-cost brokerage, which provides, and he's unable to figure out that what is the incentive for those people to run those businesses. And that is quite worrisome. The design of the incentive system itself is getting distorted. But that is something which you have to really ask, that what is in it for anybody, all people involved whom you are daily dealing with, and what is it in conflict with your interest? If it is in conflict, you will be able to figure out by asking these 4 or 5 questions. So these 4 or 5 questions are critical, and that is not about the person. This is about something which is being hawked to you. Then I think this is something on which it is a work in progress. I am invited by an entity which is working towards that. Investors Protection and Education Fund, they are doing their bit. Likewise, different regulators are doing their bit. Many times regulators have actually incentivized or have provided a mechanism whereby a certain part of the revenue of their regulated entities, they are supposed to spend on education. Another good thing that is happening is, I think, financial education of an essential kind should be part of our school curriculum, and it is happening. It has already happened in few states, and it is likely to happen in many more states, and it is going to happen in some of the central board curriculum. That is something which will help people understand, having that basic understanding, all the things which I was referring to, and understanding about the savings and investment alternative. I don't think financial education is understanding very sophisticated, jargonish, financial education. It is basically you earn, you save, and what are the risk and return and the potential and how various things work. The savings and investment alternative for an individual. If you are able to, if you broad understanding of how things work, it is almost like knowing about a car. That you don't become an automobile engineer to drive a car, but you know that, okay, this is how the role of the gear, this is the role of the brake, and this is how you are able to figure out, kicking the tires, you are able to figure out whether it is good enough. So this is all about, protecting yourself from a Ponzi scheme. And then comes, regulation that actually delivers. Punitive measure is a must, and this is something in this direction. I think our regulators are also evolving. I'm finding that many regulators are getting into this direction very aggressively. The punitive measures are becoming more stringent, but I think a lot needs to be done. We need a speedy redressal of many of the things, because if you look at the big cases around in a Ponzi scheme, not necessarily a Ponzi scheme, but an unregulated savings and investment instrument managed or issued by an entity, and investors' money or depositors' money got stuck, and they don't find a resolution even now. And after many years, then it is a problem. People don't, there is a potential distrust in the system that can creep in. And for those entities, one is that regulators, as and when they are able to catch hold of them, they should be able to clearly, speedily be able to deliver that or give that money back into the depositors or the victim's hand. That apart, a punitive measure so it is actually a very potential, it acts as a big deterrent. And unless, unlike courts, the regulators are very much geared or they are empowered to act in that direction, and we are finding that regulators becoming experienced, they should try and work in terms of, because most of the time it works like a judicial system. Unless somebody files a complaint, those things don't get initiated. Some of these things require some kind of preemptive action, that something has to be caught hold of and dealt with and stopped before it becomes big. Because after it has become big, then it becomes very difficult. You have to resolve many things. So, in effective enforcement, preempting this, and a very big and penalizing these people, which acts as a huge deterrent. And then I would like to say that I'm coming to the final point of preventing yourself from landing into a Ponzi scheme is prevention is always better than cure. And we need a mechanism by the regulator. And why I'm getting back to the regulation bit, because when it comes to a lot of naive and gullible people, we have 4 or 5 regulators. One is the PFRDA, SEBI, RBI, IRDA. But we have a situation that, a lot of people will still not be, will not be able to understand. In my interaction with a lot of investors over these years, I've understood that when people spend so much more money evaluating their spending. When you go to buy a washing machine, you spend more time understanding the technology. Likewise, buying a cell phone could be a very discerning exercise for you to decode and understand the features. When it comes to your lifetime savings on which your future retirement will depend, or a lot of your financial security will depend, people don't spend as much time. I think it is important that, one is that all the preventive things that you can do, but more importantly, all the preventive things that the regulators can do. And regulators can actually work towards us simplifying, because many a times the biggest problem is, one is that there are naive and gullible people. They will not understand. They need to told with clarity, and that is something which is the responsibility of the regulator to ensure that everything is being, the key things are spelt not in the fine print, but in bold fonts on the top, that you will get this and you pay for this, and this is what you will not get, and this is how much it costs you. It is almost like explaining things with simplicity so that people understand in their language. It should not be a legal language. Today I come across large number of investors who don't understand what they have bought and they have held for many years, and they get anxious, and sometimes they get greatly disappointed. Not because there is any kind of fraud, simply because they never understood what they have bought into. And after holding something for 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, they realize that this return is going to be 4%. It is not even beating inflation. They expected it to be turning into something, a pot full of money, which will fulfill some of their needs, and it is not. So this, I think, is a regulatory challenge. Simplification, and a lot of investors and addressing an audience which will not understand, and ensuring that by design itself, all the regulators are in the business, or they actually clear each and every savings instrument created by these entities. Keeping it simple, because if a product being designed which is approved by the regulator is of a kind which becomes very difficult for you to decode in terms of the specific dimension, which is risk, return, liquidity, and tax efficiency, and its ability to beat inflation, which I would say that it also comes in the realm of return. If you can't really dissect any product on these 4 dimensions, keep away from it. It is too complex, and no individual investor will be able to decode it till that point. So these are the things which you should be keeping an eye on. And despite this, I would say that somebody who has great incentive to create the Ponzi scheme, because the reward for creating a Ponzi scheme and getting a lot of depositors or investors or individuals in their fold is phenomenal. All the money that they will get, they can walk away with it. So it's basically perpetrating a fraud. So you have to make sure that you don't land into one, and you have to really work hard till all these things become, by the regulators, it become even more stringent, because they have to succeed with few people, and it could be all of it for you. It could be a huge opportunity loss. It will scare you to a point that the missed opportunity in your lifetime of being treated by a Ponzi scheme in early stages of your investment could be devastating. So wish you very best. I hope you benefit from following these steps and save yourself from any Ponzi scheme in your lifetime which you encounter. And this is not going to be the end of it. You are bound to come across this. Ask those questions. It's your money. Thank you.